Yeah. What up?
Okay, welcome everybody. We're gonna get started. Okay, everybody, we're gonna get started.
Walk into it real quick.
Hey, everybody, we're gonna get started. I've had the privilege of serving as your township clerk since 2019. And I want to thank all the staff who are here today, all the residents who are here today to witness the swearing in of their township officials. We're honored today to have Larry Kestenbaum, our county clerk, here to swear us in. Larry is a Scio Township resident. As well, he's been elected as our Washtenaw County clerk since 2004. He was the very first Democrat to hold that office in 72 years. And he has been reelected by voters now 5 times. So this is a testament to Larry's vast knowledge and the values that he brings to the job. Larry supports good governance and equal rights for all county residents. And with that, I want to thank Larry for being here today and turn it over to him.
Thank you. Thank you. In January every year, I open the first meeting of the County Board of Commissioners as part of my responsibilities, and I in an odd numbered year, I swear them in, and I oftentimes I will give them a little bit of advice about the responsibilities that they're taking on. And similarly, you all are going to be having what I think people hardly realize what awesome responsibilities you have to Scio Township, which is, as mentioned, is my township, and the voters have trusted you with these responsibilities to make sure that Scio Township is well governed. And I am one of those voters. I voted for every one of you. I know that's a little embarrassing for some, but and so there, I'm sure you're going to have some disagreements and some in some issues and some different views of things. And I implore you to assume good faith on the part of people who disagree with you. And further, beyond this room and the table here, to realize that this is a big township. There are a lot of people here. There's a lot of diversity of points of view. Not every point of view is represented right here. And so be mindful of all of the other folks who are looking to you to represent them and to govern the township. So so I'm going to move forward here. I think we're going to, you want to introduce each individual? You want to pass the mic around?
Sure, I think they can just loudly introduce themselves.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. Jillian Curie, longtime resident advocate, trustee since 2022, and I finally made it to supervisor.
I am Kathleen Brandt, newly elect trustee. I want to thank Pam Boyd and Mary Gillis because they both convinced me to start getting involved.
Judy DeVelmont, fairly new in Scio of about 3 years, but I have so many people to thank for encouraging me to get involved and putting my energy into Scio Township. And I'm also a trustee elect.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Yapel. I'm your new Scio Township Treasurer. John Reiser. I was an interim appointment. I was recently elected for a 4-year term, and I'm looking forward to working with all these good people on this board.
Noel, I've been a trustee for the last 8 years, and I was clerk from 2004 to 2008. I'm looking forward to working with this group.
Jessica Flintoff, appointed in 2019 and elected in 2020 and 2024.
All right. I got you. Okay. I'd like to ask you all to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state,
the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform
and I will faithfully perform
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
and state what office. Fed, go just
Trustees
in and for the Township of Scio,
in and for the Township of Scio,
County of Washtenaw, and State of Michigan,
County of Washtenaw, State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations. And let me just add that this oath is the oath that is prescribed in the Michigan Constitution. And this is the oath that the Constitution says, this oath should be used in no other oath. So that's if you're wondering if it sounds different from what you might have expected, this is the oath that is required.
Can I see the honor of swearing in our deputies?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
David Reed and Barbara Kaleja.
All right, raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office,
that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office,
and then state your office,
Deputy Clerk,
Deputy Treasurer,
in and for the Township of Scio,
in and for the Township of Scio,
County of Washtenaw,
County of
County of
Washington,
Washington,
State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
If you could sign the oath book.
That's what the
Yeah.
Constitution says.
Barb. Thank you.
I wasn't there for writing. Okay.
Sign the oath.
Yeah, no,
So here.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Got any expired candy?
Yes, yes, thank you so much. Yes. Oh, thank you. Back.
Yeah.
Thank you, Larry. You're not here.
Inside here. Great entry to. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a hard fight.
Yeah, Brian. Oh. Here you are right here. Sign over. That's you, I think you're a double treasure, so sign it. Sign, yeah. All worked out.
Congratulations. Thank you. I voted for you, Jonathan. I know we met one day. Yeah, very, very nice to hear. Worked very hard to get these folks elected. Nights campaigning for them.
Jessica, obviously, as county clerk, looks all the city and county.
Oh, yeah. You know, in fact, I knew back in the nineties, I was negotiating with all of the farmers to buy some land turtle kits. So I negotiated. I had something here. But I know you've done. Very much.
Congratulations.
One man.
Dress more cookies than we already do though.
I would talk it. It's not much
I was just grateful when it came around the corner that I thought of it. I got it over here. See, otherwise I was just.
Isn't bad. taking over. Like I'm gonna run back behind. Oh. Oh, you know the interim?
Recording on, audio on, or while the meeting. Yeah.
Everybody. All right, good afternoon. Welcome to Scio Township First Board Meeting. Let's call this meeting to order at, is that the right time? 12:17.
Would you like me to call the roll?
Yes, please call the roll.
Gary,
Present.
Maple, present. Flintoff, present. Grant,
Present.
Monk,
Present.
Noel,
Present.
Riser,
Present.
all are here.
Adoption of the agenda. Has everybody reviewed the agenda?
Yes.
I propose adding, if we want, we just had our swearing in, our oath, and also a little introduction. If there's anything else that you would like to include?
No, nothing from
No?
Would this be the time to move things to consent?
Sure.
I would like to move to consent J3, which is the reappointment of James Fink of Fink and Fink, and likely Mariah, to consent. And I would also like to pull J4, given the recent letter we received regarding termination of Foster Schwipp, since they've already terminated it. So
You folks agree with pulling J4 and putting it on consent?
I don't, I think
Okay.
there's some value in keeping J4 on, but I would support moving J3 to consent.
thank you. Agree.
All right, so we're keeping J4 under new business, correct? Okay. Any other changes? No? It's good, the agenda as amended.
Support?
Do you have that? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No.
Motion adopted.
Motion adopted. Thank you. Communications to the board of trustees. Any comments?
I would just note, we received one communication from Grand Rapids and then one from a resident in Trailwoods. And would just like to clarify, Jillian, would you be able to follow up for this person? It's the question about the
Trailwoods, yeah.
Park Road. Okay, great, thank
Absolutely.
you.
See what we can do there. Now is the time for public comments. 5 minutes, should we do that?
Yeah, I'd make a motion so as a new board, we have the rules of order in place for the old board. So at some point, not today, we quickly need to establish new rules for this board. But I would make a motion for at least this meeting that public comment be up to 5 minutes.
I'll support that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Who opposed? Would members of the public in person, would somebody like to come up and comment? Oh, come on, we just changed it to 5 minutes.
Only gonna be 30 seconds. Caroline Altamar, Scio resident. Congratulations. This is so exciting. I'm just like tickled to death. So this is awesome.
Good afternoon, Pat Stein, longtime Scio resident. I don't have a lot to say. I'm actually grateful that we didn't have 5 minutes on the previous board because I'm sure if I took up the 5 minutes, I would be putting a lot in the swear jar. So, but I do want to say, all of you are the dream team.
Yeah. Yes.
You have gone through so many, with the campaigning and the election, you've gone through so many obstacles. And through the time you have served previously, it's been a real challenge. I'm glad you made it through. So grateful because this is a happy day for Scio.
Yeah.
And I expect good things. And congratulations to all of you.
Good afternoon. Renee Klubeck. I'm here with my husband, Colonel Klubeck. We are residents of Scio, long time for him, 30, not as long for me. I want to take a minute just to say thank you and welcome. We became involved with this board just over a year ago in a very unexpected way. Someone reached out to my husband. Of course, we do things as a team and off and running we went. It's been a roller coaster ride. There's always ups and downs, but waking up this morning and realizing we are in good, kind, decision-making here that is fair and just. And we also want to say over and over again, thank you so much. We know the hours you're putting in because we just come to the meetings and we know the hours we're putting in now. So we just want to say thank you so much for the time and effort everyone is making. It will make Scio Township a great place to live. Thank you.
Pam Boyd, a Scio resident, Scio community newsletter, and Scio government watchdog. I concur with everything that everyone has said, including the swear tip jar. I want to let you know that as the person who writes the Scio community newsletter, I will still be honest and take you to task if I feel it's necessary. But I will tell you also that I feel like I might actually get a little bit of a vacation. Less stressful meetings, less stressful writing. In fact, the newsletter that I recently put out was a joy for me to write. And it's like I got back that old joy of writing the newsletter when I first started, and I expect that to go forward. So kudos to you all. Thank you.
Hi, Jonathan Greenberg, longtime resident. Really glad you're all here. Thank you for putting the time and effort into campaigning, running, and winning. It's as part of the Residents for Residents group, I couldn't be more pleased with the outcome of the events. And I would like to ask, as the representative of Residents for Residents, if I could have 7 minutes now instead of I have a few stand-up jokes I'm working on, and I wanted to try them out here. And no, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much. I'm really excited.
Pattinson, Scio Township resident. Thank you all for persevering. I look forward to a new era of honesty, integrity, transparency, and community involvement and responding to residents' needs. I look forward to board meetings where we can actually ask questions and you can answer them when we ask them. And you now are governing over a township that's more involved than it ever has been. We've posted 542 videos to YouTube and we've had over 35,000 views. So, and we're averaging the last few months, we're averaging over 1,500 views a month. So you are now more watched and more interactive than you ever have been before as Scioto Township government. I really look forward to the next era of your governing Scioto Township. Well done. Thank you for participating.
Anyone else in the present? Mary, anyone in line?
Would anyone online like to raise their hand and speak to the board? I'm not seeing any hands.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much for the wonderful comments. I'm happy to serve. Okay, next is the approval of minutes.
I would move the approval of the November 12th, 24 Scioto Township Board of Trustees minutes.
Or support. Oh, no. That's fine. Brian can do it. Motion by riser, support by no. You know, I am the chair of the road advisory committee. David is with me and we're pretty laid back. We do motions and whatnot, but you know, we usually joke around in between. So this is a bit of a learning curve to be professional. So just, yeah, if everybody can be patient with us as we learn the ropes. Thank you.
So, want to call the question? So motion by riser, support by Noel, all in
Okay,
favor?
all in favor, yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion adopted.
Motion adopted, yes. And we're at consent. It's G.
I make a motion to support the consent agenda as presented.
As presented.
Support.
There's a support to be. And consent, we don't have bills or finances, right?
Correct.
So we can do a voice vote. Yes. All in favor, say aye. Oh, Kathleen, did you? No.
I was ready to say aye.
Oh, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion adopted. Here we go. Well, congratulations to Fink and Fink for continuing with us for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
You, it's our honor.
Thank you. All township attorneys get applause. Oh, you
Once every 4 years.
Oh. Yeah, it's just white noise now. And reports.
I'll share something with you
Oh, yes, we do have a couple of reports, if I can find them.
Yeah. you also just go around. Well, I'm trying to.
Where can I find those?
Not too far. Do you want this one? Please.
Yes.
Is there a particular order that we?
Yeah, reports, and thank you to Supervisor Hathaway for providing a report for us. It's going to be helpful moving forward. Yeah. And I do not have a report right now, but I will. I like to do reports and provide with what I am doing. And we'll go to the treasurer.
Yeah, so, just a quick update, I have, been, with Aurora's help, our, HR generalist, we're again interviewing candidates, for, regular, continuing, deputy treasurer. David has agreed generously serve the role on a temporary basis. I hope to have something to bring at the next board meeting,
Sorry.
oh, sorry.
Because
I used to talk a little less loudly. So David Reed is going to be, in the role as a temporary, person. We hope to bring a regular, deputy treasurer in at the next board meeting. Had some really great interviews with a number of candidates, and thank Aurora for her help in this. Well,
yeah, thanks, Ryan. Jeff.
Sure. I just wanted briefly, had a question for the board, and I think that might be helpful for our future meetings. As kind of a new board, and, we'll all be offering agenda items for upcoming meetings. I wondered if it might be helpful if I kept track of the potential items for upcoming meetings, let's say for the next kind of 4 to 5 meetings out, and just kind of included that as a working list at each board meeting.
Mhm.
Would that be helpful?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I'll do that. That's literally all I had. Yeah.
Let's see, parks, paths, land preservation, planning commission.
I'll give on Parks and Paths. I met with Murphy. He can give other details, but I met with Murphy, who is the director. And she shared with me some of her vision. I think she's a great person leading that department, has a lot of depth of understanding and has exciting ideas. And so I'm looking forward to being the liaison between Parks Pathway and the board. So thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Any other reports?
Yes, and trustee Brandt and treasurer Yeaple can also add, but there was a planning commission meeting last night. 3 things were on the agenda. One was, there were public hearings. The first was a presentation from Many Hands Living Community, which is, they wanted to rezone from agriculture to PUD rather, for an adult life sharing community on Baker Road on the Sloan Kingsley Preserve parcel, part of that parcel or parcels south of Dexter. Action was not taken, but residents weighed in, and some non-residents weighed in about that project. The other was a public hearing by Blue Lion Fitness, and Blue Lion Fitness, they want to rezone from office services to C4 composite commercial, a parcel that is currently the absolute title company between Summerfield Glen condos on Liberty, where you can't cross 94 because it's always under construction recently. But in betwixt that Summerfield Glen and Liberty Athletic Club. So they want to go from OS to C4, and it's kind of the last OS parcel in that area. Liberty Athletic Club is C4. The storage and U-Haul are across the C4. So after the public hearing and hearing from folks, the planning commission recommended approval. This is something that will come to this board. They want to take it from a title company to an indoor work facility with maybe some running in the backyard. So look for that as a BOT item, Jess. And Wallace Development Company, which is a small parcel to the west of A&W. So there's A&W and Dexter by the famous narrow bridge by the railroad. So the A&W, to the left of that, there is a vacant parcel. And then to the left of that, there is like an auto repair company. So the guy who owns the A&W also owns the vacant parcel, and his, I want to say high school kid, his 16-year-old kid has been getting logs delivered, cutting them up, splitting them, and then delivering them. So, but that's kind of an unusual use that our current ordinance doesn't contemplate. So it was most akin to a C4 commercial, and they wanted a conditional rezoning from C2 to C4, consistent with the parcels adjacent there too. But they want to limit the uses. So that's something that's going to come before this board. One of the issues was, and Sears was here, he's in the back row, was like, hey, you got to be careful when you put all these logs because they're flammable, obviously, and there's a fire code that applies. So the kid, his dad, and his lawyer are committed to working with Fire Marshal Sears in the back row to make sure that the manner and location that they're stored comports with the fire code. That's all I have on PC.
I have a comment about planning commission. The planning commission did not make a determination on the proposed site for Many Hands. The planning commission bylaws say that when they have a public hearing, they do not make determination at that meeting. It should be at a separate meeting. So the reason I'm saying this is if anyone has any feedback on that proposal, now is your chance to write to the planning commission. And that is the intent of having a delay, not having a decision at the same time as planning, public hearing, because oftentimes people don't even know what's on the planning commission's docket. So if you have any comments, this now would be the time to give those.
On December 2nd.
What's that email address?
Planning.
Planning Commission.
Planning Commission at sciotownship.org.
Yep.
But Kathleen, can I? Sure. Kathleen, a process point, you mentioned the bylaws and maybe you and Christy and Kathy could touch base after to kind of make sure that our agendas that are being proposed conform with the planning commission bylaws. I think it's a problem and a quick one that you could help fix, Christy.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Land Preservation Commission?
They did have closed session, as John was here for. They had closed session, so there will be action coming to Board of Trustees based upon that closed session.
And our office coordinator, Christy Aiken. Do you have anything to report?
No, I don't.
I want to thank Christy for all of her. With all of these transitions, operationally, logistically, legally, all of it.
Thank you. The sheriff report is included, and I think that concludes reports. Unfinished business. Possible action, denial of claim for payment for attorney services pursuant to Scio Township Code 2-42.
Sure. Yeah, this is, my item. The background is here. As we know, on November 12th, the board approved a resolution to approve claim for payment of attorney fees. This action would, rescind that and, deny that claim. I want to ground people briefly. The analysis that we use is that of section 242, indemnification of township officers and employees. And would ask that people take a look at the proposed. I have in here the adopted resolution from November 12th, 2024-27. As well, the proposed resolution that I would like to introduce to this board. Do you want to have discussion, or would you like me to offer the resolution and then have discussion? Offer the resolution.
Yeah, generally you'd have a motion, right?
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to offer the resolution to rescind approval and instead deny claim for payment of attorney fees. And if there's a second, I can read it. Yeah, so we have a resolution offered by Flintoff, supported by Noel. And I'll read it into the record. Whereas Sandra J. Egler is currently the appointed Deputy Treasurer of Scio Township and previously served simultaneously as both the Deputy Supervisor and Deputy Treasurer. Prior to November 2021, she was employed as Finance Director, responsible for administration of payroll, employee benefits, and preparation of township tax filings and retirement system filings. And she's been employed with the township since 1991. And whereas on October 31st, 2024, Deputy Treasurer Sandra J. Egler submitted a claim to Scio Township for reimbursement of attorney fees incurred, citing Scio Township Code of Ordinances 242. Whereas 242B of the code states, quote, whenever a criminal action is commenced against a past or present officer or past or present employee of the township based upon the conduct of the officer or employee in the course of employment. If the employee or officer had a reasonable basis for believing that he was acting within the scope of their authority at the time of the alleged conduct, the township shall pay for, engage, or furnish the services of an attorney to advise the officers or employee as to the action and to appear for and represent the officer or employee in the action. Whereas Deputy Treasurer Sandra J. Egler has represented that the attorney fees for which she seeks reimbursement arose from Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office investigation, case report 230020506, dated March 13th, 2023, into allegations that Sandra Jean Egler, the named suspect, embezzled public funds from Scio Township, the named victim. And whereas prior to receiving this claim for payment, Scio Township had not been asked to furnish or to engage services of an attorney for Deputy Treasurer Sandra J. Egler. Whereas Sandra J. Egler's conduct of submitting invoices was outside of her employment with Scio Township, as she was acting on behalf of herself as an individual, as an independent contractor submitting invoices to the Loch Alpine Sanitary Authority of Webster and Scio Townships, commonly known as LASA. Whereas Sandra J. Egler's conduct of submitting timesheets and requests for time and a half pay to Scio Township was on behalf of herself as an individual employed by Scio Township, not on behalf of the township. Whereas the Washtenaw County prosecuting attorney denied the warrant request on December 20th, 2023, and no criminal charges were filed. Whereas Scio Township has standard forms that employees use to report time worked and make requests for compensatory or overtime pay. And between May 27th, 2021 and January 27th, 2023, Sandra J. Egler altered these forms in various ways, including by eliminating the required hand circling of comp or time and a half, and instead leaving only the words time and a half, and then submitting them in each of 10 pay periods. And whereas, despite these facts, on November 12th, 2024, the Scio Township Board of Trustees voted 4-3 to approve Resolution 2024-27 to approve claim for payment of attorney fees. Now, therefore be it resolved that the board rescinds Resolution 2024-27, repealing it in full, and it is superseded by this resolution. Be it further resolved that the board finds that Sandra J. Egler was acting on behalf of herself as an individual, not on behalf of the township, at the time of her conduct that spurred the investigation by the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office. Be it further resolved that the board finds that Section 242B applies only, quote, whenever a criminal action is commenced, end quote, and that no criminal action was commenced against Sandra J. Egler. Be it further resolved, the board finds Sandra J. Egler did not have a reasonable basis for believing that she was acting within the scope of her authority as a Scio Township officer or employee at the time of the alleged conduct, which included manipulating standard township forms used to report time worked and make requests for compensatory or overtime pay. Be it finally resolved that the board deny the claim for payment submitted on October 31st by Sandra J. Egler.
Any comments? Discussion?
The only thing I'll say is, I voted, on this matter at the, November 12th meeting, and I voted in favor of the indemnification based on the, state law and based on the ordinance, because I think that when an employee or an officer is subject to a criminal investigation, whether they've been charged yet or not, and they retain an attorney to defend them in that action, that the township should have their backs. And I voted to indemnify, not because I believe that a crime was or wasn't committed, or that I was supporting or not supporting an individual, but just because for the concept of having someone's back of indemnifying. I'm gonna vote against this, but I certainly appreciate that it could be a 6-1 vote or whatever, and, you know, so I call the question and let's have the vote, is what I would ask to do.
Roll call vote.
You can see if there's any other comments.
Oh, any other comments?
I do have a couple of comments. Is that I was reading in the employee handbook that
Mhm.
says she was, as a deputy treasurer is exempt, and as a deputy treasurer, that they're not eligible for overtime pay unless a
Correct.
special circumstance. So the fact that that this individual was submitting for overtime pay is problematic. I don't know if that actually fits in with this particular resolution, but it does not seem, unless there's documentation, that she had prior approval for overtime pay. Any request for overtime pay or comp would be an issue, because the document says as an exempt and a deputy appointed position, they're not. So that would be one. Also, having submitted her own invoices without oversight, I don't know, is that a process issue or latitude that was given to her or taken? I don't see anywhere in the documentation I've read where she ever requested a lawyer or assistance. Now, I certainly understand the other case that was given. That individual did request a lawyer, and we could not provide a lawyer because there was a conflict of interest. In this case, there would not have been a conflict of interest, and I saw nothing where she requested the help of a lawyer or reference to a lawyer. So in that case, it falls outside of the ordinance, because the ordinance says that the employee would ask for an engagement, and we would furnish or engage an attorney. And I didn't see that happen anywhere, and I don't believe in the documentation that this individual submitted that she made that request. So I see no request, and I don't see where that position even qualifies for flex time or overtime. So I've got some issues around that employment agreement for this individual. Okay, that's okay.
Thank you, Judy.
Can I just provide some background on points 1 and 3?
If yes, does it support the resolution? No, if your comments support the resolution, I get it. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
okay.
just a clarification on
Okay.
point 1 in particular. And this was documented in our prior meeting in the memo that I provided to the sheriff that Will included. But briefly, she was employed as the finance director until November 2021. The finance director was clearly exempt. Further, whether you're exempt or not, you know, I did go back and check. She had never, since 1991, received time and a half. In November 2021, she moved into being the deputy treasurer. The deputy treasurer position was adopted as being exempt.
And appointed, right?
Exempt and
And
appointed.
So that falls,
The-
okay.
That language, but I'm gonna get there, but our handbook had not explicitly addressed deputies. However, it was clear that it wasn't. There's also a provision in our handbook, which I think has been updated or shortly will be, that states that the supervisor may approve overtime requests. Regardless, of who the direct supervisor was. So when she was finance director, I supervised her. Treasurer, Donna. So when this started happening, in fact, they were being signed off on by two officials, and they were being kicked back and corrected by our finance manager and by our administrator. Not overtime, that's compensatory time, not overtime, compensatory. Notified, documented, timesheet after timesheet. An accrual of these came up, and I want to thank our finance manager for bringing it to my attention. I brought it to our employment attorney's attention. Our employment attorney authored an attorney-client privileged memo. I called for a special meeting. We held that special meeting in August of 2022. We came out of closed session with a vote of 2-3, with a motion failing to direct our township attorney to clarify the FLSA status of the deputy treasurer. That motion failed. There was not majority support on this board to clarify the policy. The signing of those forms continued. The Xing out of comp, the circling of time and a half. Until finally, we had enough changeover in the board that I was able to bring the revised language you're looking at in June of 2023. That clearly states that. It was only then, Judy, that the behavior stopped.
So a pattern had been.
A long pattern.
Okay.
And recently I did go back to when Ms. Egler was appointed to deputy treasurer and then also deputy supervisor. And it clearly said that she would receive the compensation that the board had set. No, nothing more. So right there in that, also state and federal law says that elected officials and their appointees are exempt from overtime. And there's a reason for that.
That's consistent with the law. That's why that issue itself is an issue.
And these errors were noted, counseled, corrected. And then the claim for payment on all of that came after many months.
For the payment of the overtime.
Correct.
So I want the public to know that Scio Township paid the deputy treasurer over $12,000 in August of 2022 for overtime. So if the position is exempt, that person should not be eligible to receive time and a half pay, but the township paid over $12,000.
Any other discussion? What else?
Make a motion to support the resolution. Do I need to, just the resolution, right?
We already did.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, right, that's right.
Yeah, we have the motion by Flintoff, support by Noel.
Right.
Okay.
With it, this would be a voice.
Roll
A
call.
roll call, yes. Go ahead, call the roll. And
Carrie?
How do you vote, Joe?
yes, well, I'm thinking. And this is a complicated, but it is, in some ways. I vote in support of this denial of claims.
Gable?
Yes.
Flintoff, yes. Brandt?
Yes.
Monk?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
No.
Resolution adopted 6-1.
Could we add this on a future board of trustees, this whole indemnification
Yes.
topic?
Like a policy, yeah.
Well, we have, it's in our ordinance.
Yeah, that's what we need to really look at, because indemnification
Agreed.
is really the issue.
Clarity on the policy,
Yes.
I agree.
Mhm.
I've got it noted as a future agenda item.
Because there was significant discussion with Jillian, everyone, and significant discussion. And there's a lot of nuance to it. And officials need to be understood that there is indemnification.
But how to do it right.
Yeah, absolutely,
I agree.
absolutely.
And I'm not saying this one.
I'm not right or wrong, it's the indemnification issue is a burden for the township. And we,
And I think we all should review the ordinances because that was in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Know it,
yes,
at the time.
so it's on a future topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to, this is new business. J1, payment of the bills.
Sure, this is something we normally put on consent.
Yeah.
I put it on, new business because it was contingent on our action on I-1. So I would, propose to remove from page 1 of the claim for payments under Department 266 Attorney, remove reimbursement of legal expenses for $4,000. And with that amendment, I would make a motion to approve the proposed claims as amended for payment November 21, 2024, and to receive the prior check run reports for November 13.
I would support removing it and approving the payment of bills.
Is there a second?
That was the
That was the second, I'm sorry.
First second.
Don't worry, you're good. And this is a,
I have questions.
oh, okay, sorry.
Then ask for discussion.
Sorry.
Discussion.
No, fine, it's good.
One is that this is usually under consent, and so I seldom get to ask this question.
Please.
But taking my chance.
Good.
There are several voided checks in the check run. That's a major concern. It's usually an issue with checks and balances about
Sure.
voided checks.
Absolutely.
Not a good practice.
It's a good question. And what I can tell you is that, I've had Rebecca address this before too. It is not truly a voided check. So what it is multiple pages. When there are multiple pages of checks for like a big DTE bill or something, those additional pages become voided. So it is a process thing that we should change so that it doesn't show as void.
Something else?
Those are not actually voided checks.
Okay, because that, the
That would
auditors-
be a big problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. Voided.
Yeah, it is not a true voided check.
brought that up before.
Yeah,
Okay.
we reviewed it.
Conversation about, yeah.
Okay, super. The second thing is, how frequently do we pay our lobbyist? He's listed, the lobbyist is listed in there. How frequent is that check?
That's a monthly bill.
A monthly?
Yeah.
So what are we getting for
I think it's a great topic for
a future?
a soon future.
Okay,
Board meeting.
Could we add that to the?
Yep.
to-do?
so if someone said that was an annual, I would be going, okay, not a problem. I think it's $3,000.
Yeah, I think it's a problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if that's a monthly, that's,
Add it to the agenda.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
No, this is great. You have, I love your questions and everybody's learning. Yeah. Okay,
You want to call the roll?
yeah, call the roll. Jessica?
Carrie?
Yes.
Gable?
Yes.
Flintoff? Yes. Grant?
Yes.
Monk?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Motion adopted 7-0.
J2. Resolution to promote better governance of Scio Township. And let's see, Clerk Flintoff.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to, bring this back to the board, a resolution to promote better governance in Scio Township. What this resolution would do is repeal 6 resolutions that were adopted between 2021 and 2023 that have interfered with my ability to faithfully carry out my duties as your elected township clerk. One of my duties is to prepare and maintain the journals and ledgers. You need to be able to know that they're kept safe and sound, not manipulated by unauthorized entries. And these resolutions, over the last few years have created tremendous conflict that has not been resolved, and conflict that I hope this new board has the political will to resolve so that we can get back to prioritizing the financial reforms that we started in 2019, 2020. We got disrupted with a new treasurer and support of the board. I expect that once these are repealed, we can start moving forward with some of the sound policies, a permanent finance director, and all the changes that we want to make. So I would offer the resolution to promote better governance of Scio Township.
Support by riser.
Is this yeah.
So it's a resolution to promote better governance of Scio Township. Whereas the residents of Scio Township are best served when its government operates with the checks and balances that are codified in various statutes authorizing the governance of townships. Whereas the Michigan Constitution establishes the public offices of the township clerk, the township supervisor, township treasurer, township trustees, and prescribes the legislative and administrative powers and duties that are set forth by law. The statute sets forth the legislative and administrative powers and duties of the township clerk, supervisor, and treasurer, and these duties are assigned to each of them personally. Whereas the statute establishes that the board, comprised of a clerk, supervisor, treasurer, and trustees, and sets forth the legislative and administrative powers and duties of the board. Whereas MCL 15.181 prohibits any public officer from holding incompatible offices, which includes one office from being subordinate to another, supervised by another officer, and that the clerk, the supervisor, and the treasurer are not subordinate to the Board of Trustees. Whereas 41.75A allows a Board of Trustees to employ a manager and other employees as are necessary. The manager and other employees shall serve at the pleasure of the township board and shall perform duties lawfully directed to the board, except those duties that are delegated by law to another township official unless consent has been granted. Whereas from time to time, it's important to clarify and confirm the duties of different officers and employees. Whereas the clerk's duties are set forth in MCL 41.65 through 41.69. Whereas the treasurer's duties are set forth in MCL 41.76 through MCL 41.79. Whereas the treasurer is responsible for receiving monies and the clerk is responsible for making all entries into the journals and ledgers. Whereas to properly carry out the clerk's duties, the clerk must supervise and direct the activities of any township staff when they are carrying out the clerk's statutory duties. Whereas to properly carry out the treasurer's duties, the treasurer must supervise and direct the activities of any township staff when they are carrying out the treasurer's statutory duties. Whereas for MCL 141.422B3E, the chief administrative officer is the manager of a township, or if the township does not employ a manager, the supervisor of the township. And per MCL 141.4341, unless the township assigns responsibility to another, it is the CAO who is responsible for preparation of the proposed annual budget. Whereas between August 17th, 2021 and January 10th, 2023, no fewer than 6 resolutions were adopted that created conflict with the statutory duties of the township officials. And whereas it's necessary to resolve these conflicts, therefore be it resolved, the job description for position of township manager shall revert back to what is currently enumerated in Scio Township Ordinance 240, an adopted job description of July 27, 2021, with the understanding that just this job description is currently under further review by the Board of Trustees and will be further revised. And be it further resolved that the following resolutions are superseded by this resolution and shall be repealed in full. I'm just gonna read the resolution numbers and dates. Resolution 2021-31 of August 17th, 2021. Resolution 2022-05 of February 22, 2022. Resolution 2022-25 of December 13th, 2022. Resolution 2023-05 of January 10th, 2023. Resolution 2023-06 of January 10th, 2023. Resolution 2023-07 of January 10th, 2023. And be it finally resolved that any other resolution or motion that is in conflict with this resolution is repealed, but only to the extent necessary to eliminate the conflict.
Discussion. Do you have any discussion? Really?
I looked these up and they're all okay to me.
Kathy? No, no, I'm good. It's just,
I'd like a roll call.
okay. Can you say call the roll? Okay.
Carrie,
Yes.
Yeaple,
Yes.
Flintoff, yes. Grant,
Yes.
Monk,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
Riser.
Yes.
Resolution adopted 7-0. Thank you, communities.
Yeah, J4, of course. And so, let's see, termination of the engagement with Foster, Swift, Collins, and Smith.
I can talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
Can I move the amount of motions to have it on the floor? I move that effective immediately that we terminate the engagement with Foster, Swift, Collins and Swift, approved December 28, 2021, and to direct the clerk to notify Foster, Swift, Collins and Smith of this termination and to ensure return to the township any original material in the firm's files that belong to the township.
Support.
Treasurer Yeaple, would you like to?
Quickly, I'll explain, we currently have we have our township attorney reauthorized to think and think. And we also have specific attorneys for specific legal issues. At this time, we no longer need the services of Foster, Smith, Swift, Collins and Smith.
This guy.
One comment.
Mhm.
Sort of a practical problem potentially that came to mind in light of the November 18th letter from Mike. Because Ryan and I wrote the model motion before we received that. To ensure return to the township, any original materials in the firm's files that belong to the township. Christy, I want to thank you. She's gotten all of the formal legal opinions. In Mike's letter, he says,
It was incorrect when he said he provided it twice, to my knowledge.
oh, I'm sure it was. And so thank you, Christy. He provided it once.
Correct.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, you know the rest.
I do. In the letter, though, what he says is, if there are any remaining files you believe exist that you wish me to transfer, please advise me in writing within 30 days. Otherwise, we will dispose of our files, including my work product, as the firm sees fit. So I just wanted to note the model motion directs the clerk to ensure return to the township. I think I just want to get some guidance from the board on what materials we want to request be returned. And I assume there'll be a cost and hassle, which I'll bring back to the board. But what materials do we want to request, if anything, beyond the written opinions, which Christy has gotten, and thank you, Christy.
Well, do we, from what you've gotten back, are there some obvious holes or voids in what he has sent?
I I can't say, because I never requested these opinions.
Okay. So I had requested some over the years, and he's provided those to my knowledge. But most of these requested opinions were requested by Will Hathaway, to my knowledge.
And you're talking about this, this round of employment or, hiring him, because he was
Yeah, yeah.
at one time.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
okay.
remember, he had, okay, so I also want to mention, I had a ZBA presentation in process. I had talked to Jessica about it, I had talked to Mariah about it. The ZBA has requested that Mike do a second presentation on ZBA rules. He has presented to the group before. In light of his letter that he sent to us, I'm okay with not requesting that he do this presentation. I've talked to Mariah about it in detail. And she or someone else will do the presentation to the ZBA.
Thanks, Mariah.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Kathleen's been trying to.
Yeah. Okay, trustee Brent.
Yes, I want to point out that the letter of the engagement agreement, communication from Foster Swift, December 15th, 2021. It states in here that this letter was sent via email to Mr. Hathaway's personal email account. I believe that we should ask Foster Smith for any communications to that email address, which was not a township email address. We don't have knowledge of any other communication or legal advice that he might have provided through that address.
Folks, I need to be downtown Ann Arbor at
Yes.
1:30. Judge
You let us
Funky,
know that,
second
yeah.
floor. My apologies.
Thank you,
Thank
trustee
you,
Rice.
everyone, for your support and gracious welcome to everyone.
Yeah, I hear you, I'm taking note of that. I have a clarifying question, and I really just don't know the legal meaning of this, Mariah. If there is a difference in meaning. So like, the reason I wrote the model motion, the way we did, it says, in the engagement letter, December 15th, 2021, adopted 6-1. If the township terminates our representation, the firm will return to the township any original materials in the firm's files that belong to the township. The firm will dispose of its files, including the firm's work product related to the township matters as it sees fit. So a question, Mariah, original materials, and then the firm's work product. What are the differences between those two, and can we ask for both of them?
Well, the original materials would be if you provided something to Foster Swift that then they were working from.
Like, and it could have been something electronic, like, let's say that somebody sent Foster Swift an account of something that happened.
Right. And then work product is what, you know, a lot of times that's an attorney's notes, it's notes on phone calls that were made. It's, you know, my first 4 drafts of a brief for a trial. I think that, what you probably want to do is think about what you're trying to accomplish here. A lot of that stuff you don't need. And I don't know how much time you want to put into trying to get a hold of something that's not that important. So I think that you might just want to spend a little time thinking about what type of request you might want to send back and narrow it down a bit.
Well, what if we put in a kind of global request? And then if it's a hassle, I can report back to the board. I mean, is there any harm? Like, what if we put in to return, all original materials, work product, and does work product include the communications that Kathleen described?
It can. It doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, look, it's a big location.
Okay,
So you want a global request.
it's an idea. Yeah,
And
suggestion.
Mariah suggested narrowing it.
I was-
What are the advantages to a global request and would we be billed for it?
So this is where I thought, I mean, the problem with this engagement has been that the board has never been aware of the scope of the engagement I mean,
But you don't think he's been acting on your behalf on something else? You would know about that.
what do you mean?
He hasn't been taking any official action on behalf of Scio Township that you're unaware of.
No,
That would be the main concern from my perspective. I don't know how. I don't know how much you need to worry about conversations that were had that didn't result in some type of action is what I'm getting.
mhm. And my thought about the global thing, Kathy, was just like, you could try, I mean, and put a small amount of time and $0 and try and see. I mean, that was just one thought. I'm certainly,
I would like to specify that they provide any communications to and from this email address, hathwil@gmail.com.
okay, I've got that noted.
Okay.
Let's include, memos or notes from phone conversations as well.
I think we could say under work product, including memos or notes. Memos, other. I think work product is kind of global, but then call out that specific and communications to from, if that's important.
Are we anticipating that this is an antagonistic relationship that's breaking up? Or
Well, I think,
cooperative?
in my opinion, there is a history of Mike communicating primarily with Will or only with Will. And the rest of the board, for the most part, was out of the loop. So that's part of, I think,
Yeah.
what they're after right now. I just don't know how much value that's gonna give us, but.
Mhm. And I would just disclose too, Judy, if you're not aware, we had a township attorney. I saw this engagement as an unnecessary engagement of a second attorney because an official on the board was looking for different advice. When this engagement happened, Mike was a township attorney. When I filed suit against the board, I claimed he had a conflict of interest in defending the board and also purportedly representing me. He disagreed. So I wouldn't say it's antagonistic, but that conflict is on
His
record.
letter, the tone was.
Well, the letter was wacky.
Yeah, his letter of like discontinuing my
Yeah.
work
It's very
was-
emotional.
was
Mhm.
edgy, I thought.
Yeah.
So that's why, so we're anticipating pushback.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
any of us have talked to Mike in months, so I was
Well,
surprised to
Other
get that.
than trustee Noel.
Yeah,
Okay.
Told some of you.
well, substantively.
Well, when I read the letter, I was shocked.
Okay.
I called him up and I said, why did you do this? And we had a quick conversation. That was it, 10 minutes. I'm not gonna go into all the details.
Yeah.
But he was upset. And I expressed concern to him that he listened to one board member and not other members from the board. He didn't contact any of the other members, to my knowledge. And that's concerning, yet he wrote this letter.
I think in response to seeing the agenda.
Well,
That's. Yes.
So can I add something? To my knowledge, that case was, that representation of Scio Township was not held with transparency. As far as I know, the board was not advised of actions that were being taken. So therefore, should we ask for his work product specific to his communications, whatever his work product for that case? Because as far as I know, unless you folks tell me otherwise, you don't know the advice that he was giving.
It's including any and all. Because I think Manager Joyce or Parker had communication with him. And
Well, we have all communications within sciotownship.org.
Yes.
we have,
That's our.
if we could put that into, not,
But we have those if we need those. What Kathleen's point is a personal Gmail account. And I would just add to Judy for background is the invoices, time and time again, and some of our astute community members have noted this, every invoice would say, detailing the items, it would say conversation with client.
Oh,
yes.
So it's a conversation with client, and then it'll say conversation with trustee Noel, conversation with client. So it was always in regards.
Viewed it as a single individual. was
Yeah,
the
so
client and the rest
again,
were-
I just raised this
Mhm.
because this is in here about, it said ensure return to the township. I can't ensure anything, so I just want kind of clarity on what request the board wants me to make, and then we can kind of see what the response is.
And there's another email address.
what about if you worked on the request with Mariah outside of a board meeting?
I think the precise request, that would be really helpful. I would assume I would. I just want direction from the board on the scope.
I think I'll just reiterate what you need to know is what you're trying to accomplish. What is it that you think you need to know from what you might get from him? That the advice that he gave, the specific advice that he gave would have been translated in briefs that he filed and arguments that he made on behalf of the township, right? So all of that you have, and all of that you have access to, and you can also watch those court hearings. So I just don't want, I'm a little nervous about getting too wrapped up in the details of something that first of all might not exist, and secondly might not be.
Well, there were conversations that were had, and there was emails that we know to a private email address.
Yeah, yes, but what are you trying to accomplish by
Well, I
getting
believe
those?
that we need to have, whatever it is that is out there to protect the township. Because if
From
there's a
what?
potential that he's involved in any case against us, then we need to have that information. Because according
That's a
to.
good point.
It
Well,
has
reading that
crossed my
letter,
mind,
that
but
letter was hostile.
when I got that letter, I mean, it did, what crossed my mind was, and I don't think we've talked about that letter, Mariah, quite honestly.
I know.
What crossed my mind was, I thought, I think I've heard, it was Peter Davis astutely, has said this so many times, like he is Will's personal attorney. He is Will's personal attorney. When I read that letter, I thought this is an antagonistic letter from Will's future personal attorney. So worst case scenario, just putting it out there in public, maybe it's remote, but I did think it odd that somebody would terminate an agreement by criticizing a board so roundly. It was strange.
Well, I call it
Strange.
because, yeah.
So along that vein, in his letter, he makes reference to an electronic communication that he had,
Right.
which had nothing to do with the case against the supervisor. I would be interested in, has he weighed in to our prior supervisor, anything about that case?
So Mariah, if we were gonna, I mean, this is the thing, Mariah, if we scope it, we get into topics.
I would really like to talk about this at a different, and like, under a different
Yeah,
circumstance.
yeah, agreed.
That's a
That's
pretty
fine.
good point.
That's fine.
So we have somewhat of a basis here to work with. And then how,
So let's figure out a way to proceed then.
okay,
Well, why not modify the
Motion.
motion?
Mm-hmm.
Just say what action we are going to take, which is,
Terminate the agreement.
is to engage,
Yeah. And
the clerk and, our lawyer, to respond to his,
yeah,
I don't know,
To
just
prepare a
engagement letter.
response.
Yeah, so we can give a response and follow up on it.
so
Right.
the second part of,
Motion.
the second
Yeah.
part of the motion, the first part is fine,
Mhm.
terminating the agreement. Then the second part is where we would modify.
Right, and so the last clause will strike and to ensure return to township any original materials in the firm's files that belong to the township, and instead to direct the clerk and attorney and anybody else who the board wants to direct to work on that. To,
I might work on that with you guys. That's
okay,
okay?
Clerk, or
Yeah.
Clerk Flintoff, trustee Noel, attorney Fink.
direct clerk, attorney, and Noel to,
Communicate.
respond, thank you.
Mhm.
Respond on township's behalf in regards to the township's this,
Request?
yeah, township request for materials. Yeah,
It's okay. Okay.
is that good? And then with that motion, is that everybody's understanding that we'll work together, put together best thing and communicate to Foster Swift?
Yes.
Yep, okay. So are those,
You seconded that one, right? Or did you make that
yeah,
motion?
Could we read the motion again? please?
yeah, if they're friendly amendments first.
Yeah.
Oh, any more, any?
Oh, no.
Are these, is this okay to, well, Riser made the motion,
Oh,
and he's no longer present.
I would start with a new motion.
I think we
Yeah.
can,
Can you read the edited
yeah,
motion?
let's,
Yeah, please, just,
yeah, so let's take that motion off the table.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion effective immediately to terminate the engagement with Foster, Swift, Collins, and Smith, approved December 28th, 2021, and to direct the clerk to notify Foster, Swift, Collins, and Smith of this termination, and to direct the clerk, attorney, and trustee Noel to respond on the township's behalf in regard to the township request for materials.
and you first did. You first.
I did, I first did it. Okay,
oh. She's gonna add more?
I first did it.
Yeah, you first did it, okay. And this would be a roll call.
it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
And if anybody wants to request a roll call,
Well-
they may, but it's not required.
At this point, it's right. If we move forward and there's finances, then we would. Okay, all in support, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? None. Great. What a way to start a term. Moving on to J5. Issuance of 2025 Township Capital Planning and FYE 26 budget instructions. Starting that again. Didn't we just wrap up the budget? And Clerk Flintoff, this is your.
Sure,
Item?
I just wanted to, something forward-looking, is the, 2025 capital planning and budget process. So this is really a first draft, not every year have we brought, we've started doing kind of a more formal budget process in 2021. We're continuing to improve it, so I'll just say, you know, this is open to all revisions and improvements. We're kind of building this as we go. I want to thank PM Gap for their work on this. We've had a lot of conversations. They've worked up a lot of good templates. And when looking at the timeline for all, what this would achieve is to get our 6-year capital plan done by January 14th. To hear the supervisor's proposed budget beginning January 28th. And to adopt our budget by March 11th, legal deadline March 31 for our April 1 start date. Revise our utility rate study and recommendations on any changes to fees by March 25th. And then that would allow us to look at our other fees, planning, zoning by June 30th. So it would sort of like keep us on track here. I didn't include all of the, you know, spreadsheets and things like this. But Ally has a kind of thoughtful plan and a potential, if the board, you know, I told her, you know, we may have revisions. But she has a tentative plan for a 2 p.m. meeting internally with all the department heads to start talking about all this stuff. The kind of timeline here, I would say the responsible party, that is not in stone. She put, you know, clerk where it's, you know, really, you know, board. But this timeline and deadlines are firm, and you can kind of see how we would work through the process. So with that, I open it up for all comments and questions.
Well, I really like this, that we have a schedule and it's easy for everybody to follow. It seems like I was involved with the budget last year and then as a resident before, and it seemed like we were always scrambling, trying to get to the, you know, putting everything together. Now, that may just have been my perception from sitting, you know, on the other side, but no, I really like this and having the schedule, this is what we're gonna do this time and then the next time and so on. And also it's very helpful for the committees. Of course, the road advisory committee, we do have a road project that we have to create every year. And this really helps us get it on track and begin early instead of later. This is great. Thank you.
Clerk Flintoff, I'd like to thank you for your efforts in this forward-looking capacity.
You're welcome.
This
That's
is
so
what
nice to hear. Thank
we
you.
need to do.
You're welcome.
And as a new person, this is excellent, because budget is always something that is behind the 8 ball. And it seems like public hearings end up getting the short shift.
Right.
And it's really critical that we have our act together so that the public hearing can be a valuable tool for that. The public hearings are critical. The other is, as someone who is the liaison with department head, it gives me a chance to mentor a new person, as we've already started doing as of yesterday, to help her with budgeting.
Yeah.
Because she has not been through this, and so it gives us a chance to include them in the loop as opposed to them feeling, when they sit at that table, they don't always feel they're part of this team. And so I want to be sure that they're engaged in a wholesome manner as opposed to in an interrogation manner.
Absolutely.
That they kind of feel sometimes, or at least she's shared. So, so it's a great way for me to also be proactive with my committee assignments.
Good.
Thank you.
Anything?
I'm supportive of it. There's been a lot of really great comments. I look forward to just more input as we move through this.
And
I'm supportive of it totally. And thank you, Jessica. You're welcome.
And I just want to say the visual, without even looking at any of the small numbers, the visual says there's a lot of opportunity here. So for those that are watching, you don't even have to see the chart. It says it got started and it made a first effort, but all these little blanks over here say there's a lot of opportunity for strategic capital planning. So that we spend the tax dollars wisely and with input. And so that's what this sheets say to me. Wow, we have opportunity to spend money wisely.
And I did stop by the last DDA meeting, encouraged them to be a part of this process, and I think,
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah,
y'all will be, right?
yes, I've requested a special meeting because the DDA meets every other month. And so we're beginning our capital improvement plan, but we won't have a meeting till January. So I've requested that and I haven't heard back yet, but we'll make sure. And Treasurer Yapel is on the DDA.
DDA, so.
As well,
Under the
so-
DDA bylaws, any two members can call a special
Yeah.
meeting.
So now that we're official, we could call the meeting. But we want to get on that and make sure that, I really want to see our committees, all of us working together. We've been working, okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mariah.
Thanks,
Mariah.
Thanks for being our lawyer.
Sure, now, do we need to do, because this isn't,
I was just requesting a motion to adopt the FYE 26 capital planning and budget timeline.
a timeline. Is there
Support?
She first did it, so.
I firsted it.
April second.
It sticks.
yeah, did you hear Ryan?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And the good news is we're not expending money, so this could be a voice vote.
It could be a voice vote, yes. I guess we'll just go ahead with that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Yeah, great. Now we're back to public comments and we will stick with the 5 minutes. No fighting.
I love it.
Pattinson, Scio Township resident. It's unfortunate that Mariah left 30 seconds too soon. Judy, this is for you and for Mariah. This board is being careful with your language about the Mike Homie letter. There are some things, Judy, that you need to know. I would highly recommend that you don't just get Supervisor Hathaway's email. I would suggest you ask for all communications with Supervisor Hathaway, no matter the email address, whether he has that particular email address or another hidden email address. I would also advise you to get all notes on conversations. We spent over $166,000 with the supervisor's personal attorney. What happened is Supervisor Hathaway didn't like the advice he was getting from the Finks. And he hired Mike Homier and tricked the old board by saying he was going to assist the Finks because the Finks were overwhelmed. And that was a lie. And shortly after he was hired, he took over and he was the only supervisor, the only attorney the board had. And we spent $166,000 with him. And we own all of those communications and all of that advice, whether we know about it or not. And having spent $166,000 with them, we should get everything. And I would expect that in future, we are going to have legal problems with Mike Homier, whether he's representing somebody or he represents himself, whatever. In my opinion, there were significant integrity and ethics problems with that relationship. And this board needs to protect the township from future legal problems with this individual. And in his letter, it was clear that he was saying that he is going to delete all communications, all history, all work product, everything that this township owns, because he's trying to hide his previous relationship, his previous private relationship with the supervisor. This board needs to take significant actions, and I hope Mariah hears this. This board needs to take significant actions to protect the township, because this will be a problem in the future. I predict problems. Thank you. And well done. What a lovely meeting. Well done.
Hi, Jonathan Greenberg, South Township resident. I'll be brief. I don't agree with Rob. This meeting was incredibly boring. Season 2, episode 1, 6.0 at best. Please, we need a little bit more next time.
Renee Klubeck. I need to, this is important and I thought about it a great deal. To my clock. I need to make reference to item I1, unfinished business. I know it was resolved, but I feel this is important information for the new board to have. And I thought long and hard about bringing it to this meeting. In the interest of transparency and communication as a Scio Township resident, I, Renee Klubeck, want to let you know that this previous Monday on November 18th of 2024, I had a meeting with your HR manager. She was extremely receptive and gave the attention that I've been waiting for since July. You can reference also the meeting where I spoke on August 27th of 24 with regards to the deputy treasurer, Sandy Egler. At that time, I referenced that I had received correspondence in the mail from her to my home address. And previous to that overreach, as I see it, she had approached me directly at the township front desk and whispered to me that I would be receiving information from her and that I would be receiving communication. I'd like to go on record that I have never met this woman. I had never met this woman. I didn't even know at the time who she was when she spoke to me while I was here on township business, being helped by Clerk Flintoff, who had gone back to her office to get something for me. The meeting that I had with HR was very good. Aurora expected to perhaps get back to me in a few weeks. I think it's important for this board with what has come up with the payment for the attorney services. This was an employee who overstepped greatly her job description. She put me in a compromised position to feel comfortable in this township hall. She put it in writing that she had information about this board. And at that time, she's employed and paid by this board. I think it's concerning to me where this is headed. And I will be honest, I'm somewhat uneasy. I have had someone reach out to me to speak with legal, and I felt that the respectful, appropriate thing to do was to put it on record before the previous board left. But I want this new board, if they have not had a chance, obviously in the confusion this week of everything going on, to hear from the HR. You will be hearing, you will see the copies that were made of the information I have. And I think I'm actually very happy that she has left. I'm happy with what you've decided. And I do believe that what happened with me shows a pattern of what you all presented today. And so I think that that's extremely important. I told Aurora I'm happy to speak with Mariah or Attorney Finks, either one, if that's needed. It may not be a huge thing, but it's another piece to the puzzle, and this new board deserves to know that and understand where it's left my husband and I. And the return address was from a military, her husband, and it was extremely upsetting to have that crossover because we both know the respect that comes. Military does not go in outside of their parameters in a position that is supposed to be a nonpartisan position. So I just wanted you to all know that. It's in the file. I personally feel as you're reviewing job descriptions and employee handbooks, this would be terms, as I said in the meeting in August, it would be grounds to terminate immediately an employee who worked on any level of the medical field that I've worked in for 30 years. So it's there, the information is there. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. The last thing I just want to say is our second thing that we had was an issue with an email situation. And I'd like the board to look at this and think about it and talk to your new technology because there is ongoing issues with email. if someone in the township were to email the previous township supervisor right now, it would indeed come to the current supervisor.
We changed that.
It has been changed. That ends my meeting. Thank you very much. I won't take any more
We
time.
changed that based on the conversation you and I had out in the hall a few
Okay.
months ago.
It just,
Thank
we just, particularly David, he had to leave, but he really wanted that to be brought up. So I'm actually speaking for two people. So, three? Okay, so anyways, again, I'm sorry to take the time. It's been a wonderful meeting. I cannot tell you, like, I literally got chills. I think Christmas is around the corner. So thank you so much. I agree.
Bill Stein, Scio resident. I want to congratulate you. You did a great job. Jessica, congratulations on getting your title back the way it should be. It should have never been taken away from you. Thanks for saving us $4,000. Maybe I'll have my wife home on Tuesdays every once in a while.
Because the meetings
Right.
effective
And the other thing is I won't have to listen to her come home and say, you won't believe what the hell we did. Thanks again.
Hi, Jean Hergat, Scio resident. I want to say congratulations to all of you. You did a great job today. I'm very happy to have you all in our township. I would implore you to go after the $12,000 that Sandy Egler took from the county or from the township that she was not entitled to. And then I would ask that you use that money to improve the audio. There are many times that I've sat at home or at my neighbors enjoying popcorn, watching the Zoom meeting, because you can hear it so much better. The configuration in this room has changed since pre-COVID. We used to sit forward and you were behind the desk, and there was a lectern over to the side that everybody spoke their public comments. If you don't have a good voice, and people tell me I boom anyway, but they can't hear everything. And some of you you can't hear. So this really needs to be improved. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, Christy and our IT person have a meeting on calendar, I think next week. We're gonna resolve that and hopefully have an option or two for the board before our January meeting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And last night I attended the planning commission meeting and I was back in the corner and I had a hard time hearing. I even brought up the microphone and that didn't help. So
Well,
we need to
and
do
it's
something.
designed when we're when we're speaking.
Yeah.
Here, it goes this way, not that way.
Yeah.
Steve Feinberg, longtime Scio resident. I just like to say what I tell people, sometimes when there's chaos creates opportunity to do things that we weren't able to do before.
Yeah.
It creates an opening in a lot of ways. And I'd like to thank Jillian for getting me involved with GFL. GFL is garbage, but you know, that garbage really actually came forward and mobilized a lot of people to get involved in the local township. And out of that chaos and crap came beautiful relationships and a transparent board that's allowing us to move forward. And so I just want to thank everybody for all the efforts that they've made, and we'll always be there to help you. Very much so. One comment. Our new treasurer. It's the first time I've seen him with a coat and tie. I'm a little concerned where he got the resources to purchase it.
Add it to the agenda.
Hi, David.
David Reed, Scio Township, Deputy Treasurer. I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you for running, and thank you to all of you, most of you, for winning. And we have a meeting done in less than 2 hours with several very weighty issues on the agenda. And I think it was held in a very collegial atmosphere, and You may not all agree with the decision, but you all got together and made them. So, thank you.
Anyone else present? No. Online, Mary?
There's no raised hands online yet.
Oh.
Here comes Diane Benson. Oh, look at that. You're being promoted, Diane. Go.
Okay, thank you so much. Congratulations to all of you. I missed the swearing in, but I tuned in during the meeting and so happy that Jessica has her entire job back. And the collegiality in the meeting today was delightful. There was absolutely no eye rolling that I could see. And I, as well as I'm sure other residents, look forward to what you as a group can do. And thank you so much. Congratulations.
There anyone else? Would anyone else like to raise their hand and speak? Nobody else raise their hand. Motion to adjourn.
Support, and what time do we have?
152.
1:52.
Were you gonna say anything else?
I'm sorry?
Were you gonna say anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
So we'll,
Yeah, I think we could have discussion on that motion.
well, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Guys.